Welcome back, y'all. We're having a lot of fun this morning. You know, we looked at sprouting, we're going to look at juicing, and I like both of them. And actually, you can combine the two, and we'll talk about how we can combine the two. But juicing is just huge. This is an angel juicer. Did anybody notice this right here? Yes, yeah. I got my first angel juicer. I've been using an angel juicer now for around 9 years. And we have a deli, and we do some days, we were doing as much as over 100 juices a day, 16-ounce juices, which is a half liter. And so we do over 100 of these right here a day. And we still do a lot of juicing, not as much as our deli is a little different right now, but I got that in and I saw these and I thought, that's interesting. I've seen those before. So let's talk about juicing. There are many health benefits to drinking freshly juiced fruit and vegetables. Now, a lot of folks will say, Walt, we cannot mix fruits and vegetables when we eat. Why? The fiber. See, what happens is when we eat fruits and vegetables with fiber, the fruit digests first, then the vegetables then keep on digesting, and we can have some challenges with the fruit that's already digested. And as Dr. Agatha Thrash would tell me, she says, Walt, it's like, she'd say, Brother Walt, it's like a tornado in your stomach. And see, Dr. Agatha was from South Georgia, and we kind of talk the same language. And she said, it's like a tornado. And she said, you shouldn't mix fruits and vegetables when you eat. I said, well, what about when we're juicing? She said, well, Brother Walt, what's the problem with mixing them? The fiber, yes. Do you have fiber when you do juice? No, then it's not a problem. Because, see, you don't have it's not going to, fiber causes food to be time released. So let's say that you're having, your glucose just bottomed out. It's down at 32. Is that a problem? Yeah, I've seen folks down to 16 flopping on the floor like a fish and look like you poured a 5-gallon bucket of water on them. And so you, what are you going to use? Your carrots have some sugar, but what's going to have more sugar? The apple. Now, is the apple, do you want her to have an apple right now? Or do you want her, we won't say 16, that's pretty bad. And so let's say she's just in the low 40s and the 30s, and we want to get her blood sugar back up quickly. Are we going to get it back up eating an apple or drinking apple juice? The juice, because you pulled the fiber out. Because see, fiber makes it time released, and so it doesn't get in as fast into the villi, and so you want it fast to get that blood sugar back up. So when you juice, you're pulling that fiber out, and so it literally is in the blood within 15 to 20 minutes. So you don't have the problem mixing fruits and vegetables. So as we're talking here, we're saying there are many health benefits of drinking freshly juiced fruits and vegetables, and it is a great way to add nutrients from the fruits or vegetables that you normally wouldn't eat. Fruits and vegetables juice retains most of the vitamins, minerals, and plant chemicals, phytonutrients, plant nutrients that would be found in the whole versions of these foods. So when you juice like this, normally we're not cooking it. But do we ever cook juice? Yes. Y'all put food up, right? You put your food up. You put up your corn. You put up your tomatoes. Do you ever put up tomato juice? Do you? Okay, so you put up tomato juice. Do you just take that and juice those tomatoes and pour it in your mason jar and then stick it up on the shelf all winter? What do? You got to cook it, heat it some in order for it to not go bad. And so you could juice it and then heat it up, cook it, and then put it up. Or you may have a person that has ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, or gastritis. Those people don't want anything raw, nothing raw, except a banana. That's the only thing they can eat. Well, So let's say you have a person who has ulcerative colitis or Crohn's or colitis or gastritis, and they have a hankering, a desire for some juice. Well, they can't have this juice raw because it's raw. It's kind of like taking sandpaper on a person who's had road rash. It's going to hurt. And so for that person, they can't drink this raw juice, but you can make juice and then heat it up or go to the grocery store and not the juice in the refrigerator, the orange juice and the apple juice in the refrigerator. You go to the middle of the store where it's on the shelf, the apple juice, the grape juice, and those juices are V8 juice. Those juices, they've been cooked to put them on the shelf, just like you do when you make your tomato juice. Those would be fine for those. So when you're making juices, you can either do it raw, or you can do it and then cook it. When it's raw or when it's cooked, what's going to have more nutrition? Raw, exactly. For the most part, yes. But what if it's tomatoes and you're after the lycopene? Cooked. Or what if it's carrots and you're after the beta-carotene? Cooked. So it is true, eating the raw, you're going to get a lot of good nutrients at a higher level than cooked. But when cooked, you're going to get some items that are higher than raw. Isn't that interesting? If you read Dr. Neil Nedley's book, Depression, The Way Out, it will tell you foods that have certain, the certain nutrients that are needed for the brain for depression. Excellent book. I highly recommend it. But in there, Neil talks about if some foods, to get the nutrients that you're looking for the brain function, you need to cook those for those nutrients versus raw. So, okay, so we're looking at these whole versions of those foods. We're talking about, whole foods. These nutrients can help protect against cardiovascular disease, cancer, various inflammatory diseases like rheumatoid arthritis. If you have an autoimmune disease, and there's a lot of autoimmune diseases, but if you have an autoimmune disease and you come to me and you say, Walt, what is the best thing you know to reverse autoimmune disease or significantly address it? It's this right here. Doing a 60-day juice fast. A 60-day juice fast is the best results I have for attacking autoimmune disease. It's phenomenal. 60. 60 days. Yes, it's phenomenal. Yeah. Valuable compounds called flavonoids and athenosines are abundant in a variety of fruits and I pronounced that wrong, I'm sorry, vegetables, and guard against oxidative cellular damage, which comes from everyday cellular maintenance and is exacerbated by exposure to chemicals and pollution. Who's ever heard of Dr. Oz? So Dr. Oz is saying, yeah, juicing's really good for you. Who's ever heard of Dr. McCullough? I'll show you a video that Dr. McCullough did that's very interesting shortly. Vegetable juicing is an easy way to virtually guarantee that you will receive your daily target for vegetables in an easily digestible form. See, your average meal takes 2.5 hours to digest, to 5 hours. But when you put things like meat, especially raw meat, did you know, do people here eat raw meat? On what?
Those that are doing boxing.
On boxing, eat raw meat. Okay. Like in Asia, they eat raw fish. And where I live, people, when they go and they get their steak, they'll say, I like it, real, what do they call it? Rare. Isn't it rare when it's raw? Yeah, rare. I mean, there's a lot of blood. That's not enough blood. I want it rare. Well, that's going to take a lot more time to digest. Did you know that when you put chocolate in your meal, it significantly extends your digestion? Yeah. So excuse me. So when you digest a meal, it takes about 2.5 hours on the normal, maybe 3, for average meal to digest. When you juice, it's going to be in the blood no more than 20 minutes. Anywhere between 10, usually more so 15 to 20 minutes. It can be as much as 10, but mostly 15 to 20 minutes. It's in the blood. Digestion's over. Do you see how you don't spend as much energy digesting? See, nutritionists tell us we spend as much energy digesting a meal as we do going to the gym working out. That's a lot of energy. So as you look at net energy, so you just ate a meal, food gives us energy, yes? So you're going to, if you're spending a lot of that energy to digest that meal, you're going to only get this much energy. But if you don't spend hardly any, then you get more energy. That's why athletes like pea protein, because it takes the least amount of any of the proteins to digest the pea protein. And so they're doing pea protein drinks because they get more energy. So the raw green vegetable juice can be likened to a living broth. It is teeming with micronutrients that many people are lacking. People should view vegetable juicing as a regular part of their diet. Again, McCullough, very well-known physician. And he says it should be what? A regular part of their diet, not just a fad that they engage in once or twice a year. The bulk of one's juice should come from organic, green veggies, spinach, celery, kale, Swiss chard, etc. No fruits which are too high in sugar. Growing up, and even until I left regular health care, I was trained that if you're sick, you need a quart of orange juice a day. You ever heard that? Why? Vitamin C. But here's the problem. When was that orange juice juiced? At the orange juice factory. Do you have orange trees here? You have orange trees here? Where's the nearest orange groves? France? California? Well, when did they juice it? That vitamin C could have oxidized off. What you're drinking may not have a lot of vitamin C unless you juiced it here. But you have a lot of what sugar? Fructose. And is drinking a lot of fructose good when you're sick? No. So actually, if you were sick or if there's sickness in the house, do not drink fruit juice. Drink vegetable juice because you don't want all that fructose. It's a whole different. First time I heard it, a friend of mine was teaching a lecture and I'm thinking, Phil, what are you saying? He's a doctor. Went to Loma Linda and I'm thinking, Phil, you've gone nuts. So afterwards I said, Phil, what are you talking about? After the meeting, I didn't say, Phil, you gone nuts. I said, Phil, what are you talking about? Afterwards, just Phil and I. It's best to do that. And he explained it to me. And it's like a light bulb come on. Have you ever had light bulbs come on? You go, wow, that makes sense. Sometimes you think you know everything and you don't know nothing. It's important to keep learning every day. And so Dr. McCullough says, it's better to have the veggie juices than a lot of the fruit, especially high in fructose. And that's exactly what Mary Lou does when she makes them in the deli. She makes mostly vegetable juices. She might put a little apple with it. If there's a question, she'll put Granny Smith apple. But guess what the most popular juice that Mary Lou sells out of the deli? Green juices. So when she makes her green juice, she's got kale. She's got maybe 4 stalks of kale, 4 or 5 stalks of kale. Yeah, a lot of kale. She does a lot of kale. Maybe 2 bunches of handfuls of spinach, maybe a half a bunch of parsley. She'll do some, say, 2 celery. Unless we don't have enough sodium, we'll do 4 celery. She'll do a quarter of a cucumber. She'll do a thumb of ginger. She'll do a half of a lemon and maybe a little apple. Oh, yes, and turmeric. Yeah, if they'll do it. Yeah, and some turmeric. Yeah. Does that sound good? It's the favorite.
Is it lemon?
Half a lemon. Now, we use all organic. And so when it's organic, she just cuts that lemon in half and cuts it in a couple pieces and sticks it in here and does the whole, peel and everything. And the apple, what's neat about organic, it doesn't have wax on it, And so she just cuts, you wash it first, obviously. All the stuff, we wash it first, but she just cuts it up and sticks it in there. And we don't peel it. See, if it's not organic, where we are, it's got wax on it. And you don't want to juice wax. And then, if it's organic, she doesn't grade the skins off. She just cuts the ends off and runs it through. And there's a lot of nutrition out in here and in the peel of the apple. And if it's organic, we don't have to worry about that. Pardon? Exactly. Yes. We've learned about microgreens, and I think we have a new green juice coming pretty quick. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Mercola adds that there are 3 reasons why juicing is a phenomenal health habit. Juicing helps you to absorb all the nutrients from the vegetables. This is important because most of us have impaired digestion, and as a result of making less optimal food choices over many years. And it's true. There's something called the affluent diet. Have you ever heard of the affluent diet? People call it the SAD diet. Do you know what the SAD diet stands for? Standard American Diet. Yeah, that's the SAD diet. The affluent diet, this is an affluent country, yes, versus Ethiopia or some other countries that don't have the finances. And when I go to places in Africa, they don't have much. Those folks, they may make $1 a day, and they're working 10 hours a day. Very hard labor. We were driving by and they were tearing this 6-story building down. And their buildings are pretty thick of concrete. And it was men out there going, sledgehammer. And I asked the guy I was riding with, I said, "Where's your cranes with a big ball on it?" And he looked at me like I had 3 heads. What's that? I said, "Well, what about your bulldozers and things?" "No, we don't use bulldozers for that." And so those men were just chinking away. And I said, "How long is it going to take them to take that down?" "It may take a couple of years." Can you imagine making maybe $1 a day for 10 hours? They're making on average, less than $30 a month. Not a lot of money. You can't, And so we're affluent, would you say? And with the affluent diet, as those people move to Kigali in Asia, as they move to Kuala Lumpur, and they start making more money, they start eating the affluent diet. And the affluent diet is not as healthy. And so what he's saying here is, Mercola's saying with juicing, is this, is this cake? Donuts? Biscuits and gravy? No. It's important because most of us have impaired digestion as a result of making less optimal food choices over many years. And what happens is that affluent diet messes with the digestive process. That is a major reason why we never want to take, those of us in affluent countries do not want to have a B12 pill, because B12 pills do not absorb well in the small intestines because of the affluent diet has damaged that digestive process that McCullough's talking here. If you're taking B12, you want it sublingual, liquid, or a sublingual lozenge. That's what you're looking for instead of taking a pill. This limits your body's ability to absorb all the nutrients from all the vegetables, just like the B12. You don't absorb it well. Well, it actually can affect, based on the affluent diet, you then have problems even digesting the foods that you're eating. Juicing will help to pre-digest them for you, so you will receive most of the nutrients rather than having it go down the toilet. Now, do you drink juice? No, you do not drink juice. If you drink juice, gulp, 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 and swallow it, or mouthful, swallow, just like swallowing water. If I go and I'm drinking water, you don't drink juice that way. You never want to drink juice. Because if you drink juice, you miss 1/3 of your digestion. I was talking with a friend of mine, he's a physician, and a couple years ago, and he said, I was telling him I like juicing a lot, and he says, I don't like juicing, I never recommend it to my patients. It's not good. I said, why? He says, you miss 1/3 of your digestion. I said, I know. And he looked at me like, so why are you recommending? And I said, but what if you chewed your juice? Ten to 15 chews. He said, that'll work. Why? What's the difference? Have you ever mixed concrete and a wheelbarrow? Okay. You put in your Sac Creek. Y'all have Sac Creek? You put in your water and you pour it in the hole? Or do you take a hoe to it first? First the hole. Yeah, but what if you didn't? Results wouldn't be very good. No, results wouldn't be too good. Ladies, you're making a cake. You got your bowl, you put in your powder, you put in your liquid, stick it in the oven. Would it make a good cake? No, you got to take your mixer to it. Until what? The powder soaks up the liquid and it's not clumpy. And in the wheelbarrow, Mary Lou needs to put the sign up. And so they made me a sign back to English. And so you take the hoe and you move it until the dry powder is no longer dry, until it is a compound. It's now concrete. You don't want too much water, but you want it to be concrete, a compound. Well, that's what you want in your mouth. See, in your mouth, you have saliva. And in your saliva is digestive enzymes, amylase, mostly, protease, and lipase. They're like chainsaws that start ripping the food apart, digesting it down. See, I can't take this apple and just stick it in my blood. It's not going to work. Digestion, there's 3 phases of digestion. The first part of the stomach, the second part of the stomach, and then the small intestines. The first part of the stomach, you know where it gets its digestive enzymes? In the mouth. But it also gets it from the food, if it's heirloom food. See, if it's hybrid food, they have super hybridized it so that you don't have the digestive enzymes in that food that cause it to have a short shelf life. And so what they've done is they've hybridized out the amylase, protease, lipase, also in the saliva. It's also in the food, and let's say it's in the carrot. And so they want it to have a longer shelf life and not go spoil faster because it starts rotting faster. Why? The amylase, protease, and lipase start digesting the carrot. And so they hybridized that out. They started working on this around 1903. 1904. And they used some chemicals, and then they found if they just hybridize it out and get rid of them, then you don't have that problem as much. You still have some spoilage, but not as fast. And we can move it from California to Tennessee, or from Chile to Tennessee, or from France to Sweden. The problem is God put the amylase, protease, and lipase in the fruit. In the vegetables specifically. I don't know about the fruit. I'm sure it is also, but definitely in the fruit. And so it aids in that first part of digestion, the digestive enzymes. And so if you're eating hybrid seeds food, which most of our food is hybrid, you're not getting those enzymes. And so the body has to work extra hard to produce more enzymes, or you don't have adequate digestion, breaking the macronutrients to the micronutrients.
Do you get the same effect if you cook the food?
No.
You don't kill these?
Can you kill some of it?
Yeah.
Not as much of the enzymes, I don't think. You are going to kill some things, it's true, but you're not going to plumb kill them because you wouldn't have digestion. So, as we where shall I go back to? We have the digestive enzymes in our saliva. And as we chew the juice, just as we chew our food, just as you do the wheelbarrow or as the bowl, then you're going to mix those digestive enzymes into the food that has fiber when we're chewing it, or we're going to mix the digestive enzymes into the juice that we're about to take. So we've inserted the enzymes now into that juice by chewing it. Now we can swallow the juice. So we swallow juice, not chew juice, not drink juice. We chew and swallow juice. And then now in this first part of digestion, it's going to start breaking it down very rapidly. So you want to chew your juice. Juicing allows you to consume a healthier amount of vegetables in an effective manner. Virtually every health authority recommends that we get 6 to 8 servings of vegetables and fruit per day. Some are saying as much as 9 today. And very few of us actually get that. Juicing is an easy way to virtually guarantee that you will reach your daily target for vegetables. And again, now we are having nutritionists say that we need 9 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. Definitely your 6 to 8. You can add a wider variety of vegetables to your diet. Many people eat the same vegetable salad or side dishes every day. This violates the principle of regular food rotation and increases your chance of developing an allergy to certain foods if you eat it all the time. See, is Thomas Jackson. Some of y'all know Thomas Jackson. He says, we're not dogs. We don't want to eat same-o, same-o. And a lot of times when people, they'll say, well, I don't want to eat a whole food plant-based diet. I'll just be eating rabbit food. There's not much variety. Oh, yeah, there is. Is there a lot of variety in your garden? Yes, there is. Is there a lot of variety in y'all's garden? Sure there is. And so actually when I sit down with people, say, well, I need more variety in food than just eat fruits and vegetables and whatever. And so I sit down a piece of paper and it has all the fruits. Well, not all, just a whole mess of them. It has a whole mess of vegetables and all kinds of beans and grains and nuts and seeds, and it's a whole paper full. I said, tell me what you eat for breakfast. Hardee's. A ham biscuit. What do you eat for dinner? Oh, I might go to, Taco Bell. What do you eat for supper? We might go to Pizza Hut and get a pizza. Is that a lot of variety? Or I might get a steak sometime. That's not a lot of variety. But when you eat food like this, that you can juice, or that whole food plant-based diet, there's a lot of variety. And so you're getting a lot of different nutrients. And as he says here, you're getting a wider variety of nutrition. Additionally, juicing can help promote weight loss. boost your immune system, increase your energy, and support your brain health. So let's look at juicing. Let's see if we can look at juicing. I got an idea. Can you come help me? Come help me. Okay, I'll let you kick that on. If you want to turn that on. Go to forward. Yep. There you go.
Should I just start pressing it down?
Yep, there. What's kind of crazy, when I go into the school system, I'm able to let the kids do this, but when I hire an employee in the United States, they can't do this unless they're 18 years of age. They're not even able to use a pair of scissors until they're, what, 16? It's crazy. On the fire department, if I bring on a young boy that's a junior and he's not 18 years old, he's not even able to use a cordless drill. It's pretty fast, isn't it? Now, here's how it works. So let's pretend this is our digestive system. This is our mouth. Now, we don't have a stomach in here. We'll say the stomach's somewhere in here. Teeth are in here, it's chewing it up. And then down here is where whatever's in this bowl right here, that is what's going into the blood, into the villi. And then we have the waste that comes out in the feces. Now, this is very dry. It's a good juicer. And so so what's happened? But Walt, people will say, Walt, look at all this nutrition you're throwing away. Well, what did we learn earlier? Does fiber go into the villi? No. And so you're not going to absorb this anyway. And this is actually, have you ever dyed clothes? Right? You've used dye to dye clothes. This is just dyed fiber. The juice dyed. Have you ever used juice to make coloring in your food? You want a color, a certain color? Sure. And so this isn't nutrition. Your nutrition is here. This is colored based on whatever food that you're doing. Let's say you're doing beets. What color do you think it is? Red. Yeah. So what happens is whatever goes in your mouth and goes into this jar right here is what's going into your blood. That's something to think about. I'm going to look at that in a minute. Had this lady call me one time. She was angry. She says, Walt, why are you trying to kill us? I said, what are you talking about? She says, why are you trying to kill me and my husband? I said, I don't know what you're talking about. She said, we're peeing and pooping blood. And I knew I'd had her go home and do some juicing. I said, did you juice any beets? Yeah. Well, how many beets did you use? She says, I used 2 beets for each one of our juices. I said, ma'am, you're peeing and pooping beet juice. Yeah. I had a man come in one time when I was up in Virginia. Oh, he was scared. He had blood in his feces. And my nurse asked him, she said, sir, and she knew that beets were in at the time. She says, sir, did you have beets over the last 24 hours? Yes. She says, I think you're pooping beets. She says, I'll check it though. And so he did a stool sample and we walked it and there was no blood. It was just from the beets. So yes, that can happen from beets. Okay, let's try an apple. Now, what do you do with this stuff? Compost? Sure, compost. We used to have goats. Our kids wanted goats when we were kids, when they were little children. And so we had goats as pets for them to learn responsibility and take care of animals. And Mary Lou would take it and feed it to, was it the billy goat or all of them? All of them, yeah, they liked the fiber. All right.
Are you also taking those?
Probably not. Now, see, what you can also do is you can take these guys. We're just showing. So we can take these guys here when they're mature and put them in here, and you can juice your sprouts or your microgreens. Yeah. All right. You can go ahead and turn it off. Okay. Again, anything that goes in the mouth and comes into this bowl right here that's absorbed into the blood is going to be absorbed into the blood. It's important to remember. So they'll come in and they'll say, I like it good and ginger. And I like a lot of lemon. And so she makes it with a lot of ginger and a lot of lemon. She has some people say, not too much ginger. I don't like a lot of hot. So she makes it with just a little bit. Some people like it a little more of this, a little more of that. And so when you make your juices, you can totally, it depends on what you put in there. But here's another very important component. When you make juices, and I told you that I'll put this much of this and this much of this and this much of this. Every juice that we make, we test it. Mary Lou will bring it to me, or I'll take it to her, and we'll say, is it what we want? Because we're dealing with different foods that have different tastes. Have you ever eaten one thing and said, boy, that was a really sweet apple? Or, that's kind of a tart apple. Same kind. And so when you're making juices, you may want to adjust and say, there's sometimes I'll tell Mary Lou, maybe a little more apple. And so she'll make a little more apple. So we meet that palate of that customer. Or you may want to meet your palate. And so that's really important. Okay.
What's the shelf life?
Oh, good question. Very good question. Thank you. I would not have mentioned that. So the shelf life on a juice is best if you consume it that meal. It's best. Now, Mercola that we had, he says you can put it in a container. Let's say that you want to do it later on today. You can fill your container to the brim. Put your top on it. Therefore, you don't have any air in there for oxidation. Now, I have a friend, she's a nutritionist. She's a nutritionist, a registered dietitian, and also certified food scientist. Very smart lady. And so when we started looking at juicing for people, I was asking her for shelf life ideas. What can we do to extend shelf life? And she said, Walt, what you do is you get a food saver. Have you ever heard of the machine called a food saver? Sucks air out of the bag. You put your food in the bag and it sucks the air out. Well, they also make it, and you can buy it on Amazon. It's got a little top you put on here. It fits on a mason jar. They have small mouth, wide mouth. Put it on there, and then you take the little tube from Food Saver, stick it on there, and it sucks the air out. And then you put your mason jar flat lid on it, and it will suck it out, and this top won't come off. It sucked all that air out. And literally, you can easily go 4 or 5 days, up to a week in the refrigerator. Now, obviously, the particulates are going to settle down. And so you're going to have to shake it. And to get them back up in there, shake it a little bit. And literally, we will make juices for people. I like doing it twice a week, but I have some customers say I can only come once a week. So I'll make juice for a whole week for them. You could also juice it and then pour it in a Ziploc baggie and freeze it. But It's perfectly fine up to, what I like doing is having them come twice a week, and I'll make 3 days, and then they could pick up 4 days, then they pick up 3 days, and they pick up 4 days. That's a very good question. But if you're just going to do it like this, it's better to drink it just that meal. If you're going to do it, but you've got to make it reasonable and obtainable. If it's too difficult, they're not going to do it. So let's say they come home at night and they can make breakfast and dinner for tomorrow and supper tonight. They're doing a juice fast. So they can make it for now, and then they can make enough for 2 for tomorrow for breakfast and dinner. And they fill it, plumb up, put it in the refrigerator, and it'd be okay. It'd be fine. The better the machine, the longer the shelf life. And that is true. Yeah. Yes.
If you normally eat 2 times a day, and then you start to do juicing, is that considered a meal, or is something you can do in between meals?
Okay, good question. It depends on the person. If they want, it's not going to take, you do 2 meals a day. So you have to look at what your energy expenditure is. I have men that come in that are construction workers in the summertime, and they do a juice fast. Firemen, I'm cautious. I want to make sure, because that man is going into a dangerous situation, into that building. I want to make sure he has enough energy to fight fire, to get out, whatever. So I'm a little cautious there, because he's going into a hazardous environment. But any other occupation, whatever, I'm fine. I had a lady one time, she wanted to lose some weight. She was right at, she was 399 pounds. She was right at 400 pounds. She wanted to lose some weight. And she liked to eat. This lady really liked to eat. And I knew she did. So I said, okay, you got to negotiate, sometimes. I'm thinking, how am I going to get that lady to juice for 30 days? That's all she was willing to do. I like 60 days. 30 days is all she agreed to do. How can I be most effective? How can I get compliance? It's okay. So let's do 3 to 4 times a day. Because it's going to be through the digestion. It's not long digestion like regular meals. And so I said, okay, do it 3 times a day. If you need to, do it 4 times a day. Okay. So she does it the next day, then comes back in the next day. She says, I can't do this. There ain't no way I can't do this. I said, what's the problem? She says, I'm plumb full at just 2. Do I have to do 3 or 4? No. And then she's happy. She lost 40 pounds in 30 days. And she did well. So it depends on you. Try 16 ounces each, or a person may want 3 times a day, but no, I only want to do twice a day. No problem. Go to 20, 24 ounces twice a day. So you can change your volume. Yes?
2 things. One, usually we wouldn't encourage people to lose that fast. That was partially fluid. I think she was doing dandelion leaf tea as well.
Plus, she's a big lady. Yes. And you're going to lose more when you're a big person.
I just wanted to make sure of that.
Yes.
And the other thing I think he may have been saying, if you want to incorporate juicing to a 2-meal diet, could he do a juice maybe a half hour or an hour before his breakfast?
Is that what you're saying?
That's what the aspect of the question, yes.
Okay, I'm glad you're here. So, because it's a liquid, do it 30 minutes before the meal, or finish 30 minutes before the meal, and you'll be fine. Because it's going to be in the blood within 20 minutes, and then you can then do your meal.
So it's not considered as a meal, an extra meal in that?
It's just part of that meal that's, yes, no problem. Let's try something else. I did have you up here for a reason. Okay. So now I don't know how well this works. I'll usually run, do y'all know what a Swiss roll is? Or a Twinkie? Good. It's good you don't know what they are. But it's this little Danish pastry that has cream and stuff in it, and yeah, chocolate cake. So let's try something. So let's do this. So I may not get any results, but we'll try. We're going to try a Danish. Jay assured them that he's not going to consume it at the store. I don't know if they believe him or not. Now, because we still have fiber in here, it may have a little, let's try again, make sure.
You could run a little water through it.
Pardon? We could. I'll tell you what, you want to grab my water bottle?
Should we put water in there?
Just pour a little water in, not a whole mess of it, but just a little.
Is that enough, baby?
Well, maybe a little more. There we go. Is it going down? You see why I say this is like the fecal material? You go down? Okay. All right, let's do it. Are you ready? You ever done this before?
No.
No. There you go.
So should I just do it like this?
Yes, ma'am. Oh, hang on a sec. Here we go. There we go. Let's see what we get. Is it gone?
Yeah.
Well, good. We don't have a whole lot in here, so it may not give us a lot. But the illustration is whatever you put in here, and it goes into the blood, it will go into the blood. So usually what I do is when I do it, this stuff comes out. When I make them normally, this real greasy, not nice and feels like this greasy gunk comes out. It looks, like a very loose stool. And then I get this juicy stuff down here that's full of sugar. And I asked the mom that I had drink the orange juice, we call that an orange, the carrot juice. Would you let your child drink that? No way. Well, that's what happens when we eat junk food. Whatever we put in our mouth is going to go in the blood. Can you tell? Okay, we're starting. This is working. This is working. Check out the fecal material. Do you see a different consistency? See, compare this with this. It's a real mess to clean that thing up. One time, you can. One time I was doing it. I was in Kentucky, and I had this little child come up and do it, and they were putting it in, and the machine went and stopped. A couple of years later, I saw that child in Chattanooga at a convention, and the little kid comes up and he pulls on my. And they pulled on my pant leg, and they say, "Hey, mister, you remember me?" No. They said, "I'm the one that did the juicing up in Kentucky. Remember, you're the one that clogged that juicer." They remembered that nasty food like this made that juicer just plumb clog up. Would that clog up their digestive system? Not work right? Of course. Can you get me a paper towel? Thank you. So I'll finish with this. How many of y'all watched the documentary out of Australia? Now they have a different sense of humor sometimes. It's called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. Anybody? Write it down. Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. Thank you, ma'am. His name is Joe Cross, not related. And he did a documentary on, he was fat, sick, and nearly dead. And he needed to do something. And so he juiced for 60 days. And he carried around a film crew, juicing him. Have you watched the video? And you can go to my website, themustardseed.us, and you can click on education and click on videos, and you can watch it right there. Or you can go to YouTube, watch video 1. Video 2, he messed up on. It's not good. He messed up, and I think he realizes it. I'm sure he realizes it. But video 1 is a good one. It's a good one. And it's a documentary showing the medical benefits. It's monitored by a physician, actually physicians and nutritionists. And he does a 60-day juice fast, just juicing. And he juices out of the back of his car. Actually, it's got a little inverter, and he juices as he goes from New York City to California. Yes.
Was he the one that did the documentary about McDonald's?
No, I wondered if you would say that. No, that guy almost died. They had to pull him out of that, or he would have died. That's the difference. It's not the McDonald's guy. This one is a different one. He just did juicing. Have you watched it? It's really good. And so it will show you juicing. They juice for 60 days. Again, juicing is the best thing that I have found for autoimmune diseases. Who has ever heard of Gershon Clinic? Okay, Gershon juices 8 ounces of juice used to be 12 hours, now it's every 13 hours. It is literally one of the best modalities I can recommend for cancer. And it's amazing. And folks will say, well, there's not enough calories. Well, when we did 8 ounces, 12 times a day, that's 96 ounces, and that's over 2,000 calories a day. That's plenty of calories. Now they've added an extra one, so it's even more. It's phenomenal for cancer. You're just getting copious amounts of nutrition to fight cancer. University of Alabama at Birmingham. You've heard of UAB maybe. They have a advanced cardiac team that's very good, one of the best in the Southeast United States. And I met a patient there, and he said that the doctors he was in critical cardiac failure. Again, what is the second major cause of the second major utilization of the heart energy is doing what? Digesting food. And if you have a cardiac patient who is really, they have a poor ejection fraction, say 10%. They want as much of that left to run the body, to run the brain and run the organs. And so they don't want to take away from that by digesting steak and eggs or potatoes. And so he said they had him juice, just like the Duke diet, for 70 days. I'm sorry, not said Duke, just like the Joe Cross thing, for 70 days. And there's plenty of protein, there's plenty of nutrients, because a heart in failure needs protein, yes? And they found it was plenty of protein for that heart that's in heart failure in just drinking fruit juice. So as you look at trying it, you could do a 3-day juice, a 7-day juice, a 21-day juice, a 60-day juice. It's just phenomenal, the benefits that it does. Now, if you want to make it work even better, some people say, well, I can't just drink this. That would be, that's just not enough. It'd be boring. So here's what you do. You have them go NPO. You know what NPO is? Nothing by mouth. Well, maybe not NPO, but they get no food by mouth. They can drink water, but have them do a 3-day juice fast. Thank you, Mary Lou. A 3-day water fast, or maybe a 5-day water fast. At the end of that 3-day water fast, they're glad to drink this stuff. Yes, it's true. Well, not drink, chew. And then after you do a juice fast, and then you add in a delicious foods like whole food plant-based, like we're eating here, man, they're ready for it. I found that when my patients would come in and they were used to the standard American diet, and we just fed them what you're eating here, they didn't like it. It was too bland, didn't care for it. So what can we do? So a friend of mine said, fast them until it tastes good. So we did a 3-day juice water fast. We do juicing. And let me tell you what, they enjoyed that food that you're making. And so sometimes we have to retrain our tongues because our tongues can get perverted on the foods that we eat. Now, I'll tell you, an apple's delicious. But for a person that's so used to that real sweet food, they have to get used to an apple tasting good. And juicing is a great way. All right, well, we'll close, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.